Okay, welcome back to the 5 seasons of marriage. This is session 2, where we're going to look at the first season called romantic love. It can also be called the season of young love or new love, because it's in this first season that we're going to experience these really strong feelings of infatuation and love and romance. This first season is normally described as the first 2 years of marriage. Well, there's 5 tasks that are in this first season. There are 5 specific tasks we have to address and fulfill if we're going to have a healthy first season of marriage, okay? And as I said, the overall task is to overcome our naive and our unrealistic ideas of what love and marriage are. And as I said, there's 5 distinctive tasks that we have to face and build into our marriages. Number 1, we have to mold into one family. This is obvious, but it's not that easy. If we're to fulfill or complete this first season, we have to mold 2 very unique, different, independent persons into one marriage or one married couple, one married relationship. We have to take 2 individuals and mold them into a unit without sacrificing their individuality. Well, like, what an incredible task that is. Each person comes into their marriage with a unique identity, and when they discover that they now have to be made into a new identity without sacrificing their old identity, it can become pretty scary for people. Each person is happy with the way they were. They go, this is who you married. This is what you get. But there has to be some changes. See, to discover that they now have to change to become one is not a pleasant thought. And so what can we do to help us mold into this one family? This is the first task. What can we do? Well, number 1, spend time together. You know, on the positive side, we have this powerful tool built into this first season of romantic love, and that thing that we have is excitement and enthusiasm. We have a lot of excitement, a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm, and each married couple has this raw, enthusiastic energy as they come into the marriage relationship. And so we must use, though, that excitement and enthusiasm of young love to spend time together and do things together so that we can get to know each other better. Okay? You see, often, not only is a young couple starting out their marriage, they're also starting out in a new career. They're also perhaps leaving home and living in a new home, and maybe even living in a new city. And so it's so important, with all the busyness of career, home, city, community, that you carve out lots of time to spend together. Another thing we can do is protect the marriage from unrealistic expectations. You see, on the negative side, one thing that seriously hinders the move into unity of the marriage is the possibility of breakage. Regardless of what the couple thinks or imagines, their intimacy really in the beginning is rather superficial. And true intimacy only grows as a couple gets to know each other. And so persons in a new relationship have not had enough time to build a depth of intimacy in their marriage. And so it doesn't matter if the couple are in their teenagers or if they're in their 70s. Most newlywed couples feel compelled to be very careful when dealing with each other. They're thinking, oh, will this upset him or her? How can I tell them about this in my life, or this aspect, or the struggle I'm going through? Whatever. Like, they're afraid because the marriage, they feel, is really still frail and breakable. And often a new couple unknowingly strains their fragile intimacy by loading it with the burden of expectations that it just can't carry. We think, finally I can have an intimate relationship that's going to solve all my other relationship problems from the past. I'm finally going to get what I personally need in my life. Wow, what a burden to put on your spouse. We think that friction with our parents and failed prior relationships and perhaps even failed prior marriages will melt away in the brilliant warmth of this new overwhelming sense of love. But instead, we just tend to bring those things, as I said, into our marriage, and rather than have them melt away, they get aggravated. And so we really have to protect our marriage from unreasonable expectations by dealing with them and letting go of them. Your marriage will not fix you. It may magnify the issues in your life. So we have to protect the marriage by getting rid of those unreasonable expectations. Okay. The second task, after molding into one family, we also need to overcome the tendency to struggle for control. And this will really resurface through almost every season. But at each season, each spouse is going to say, well, who's in control of this? Okay, who's in control here? Who's in control of looking after our finances? Who's going to look after the meals and the laundry and the cleaning? Who's going to look after what city we're going to live in? What type of house we're going to live in? Who's going to choose the restaurant that we have our Friday night date on? Like, there's so many choices. And who's going to decide what? There's so many decisions to be made concerning our responsibilities and who's going to be in charge of what. And as every situation arises, one of the two will believe that they're better suited to make the decision. Oh, I got this. I'm good at doing this. I got this. Well, you got it for you, but it may not be best for you together, okay? And so every couple needs to learn how to negotiate through the situations and respond to them in a godly manner and find a way to make the best decision for both partners, not just for the one. It will take a while to agree on who will be responsible for what and who is best able to be responsible for what and who's going to control what, okay? Conflict is inevitable. Can I say that? Conflict is normal. It's a normal part of every marriage, no matter what our ages, no matter what our backgrounds. But for a newly married couple, conflict may appear to be a major, scary issue that they feel could end the marriage. And the new couple is not far enough into their relationship to know that conflict is nothing more than a normal part of marriage. And conflicts do not hurt a marriage, but how we deal with our conflicts determines how the marriage is affected. I hope you got that. Conflicts don't hurt a marriage. How we deal with conflict is what determines whether the marriage or how the marriage is going to be affected, okay? So the source of conflict is going to change, as will the couple's methods for dealing with conflict or responding to conflict. But conflict itself is present in all relationships. And also the expectations transfer from courtship into marriage, and so does every unresolved issue. You're not going to get rid of conflict by getting married. You're not going to deal with issues by getting married. You're going to deal with issues by dealing with issues. Okay? Most couples believe that their conflicts will disappear once they get married. Instead, little things there in their engagement will become big things in their marriage. And so as a newly married couple, we have to learn how to communicate and make responsible choices together. And how do we do that? Well, simply, we can use I feel statements. See, conflicts give us an opportunity to learn how to communicate in ways that share information and share feelings without threatening the other partner. So we need to learn to use I feel statements rather than you did this statements. For example, not you hurt me, but when you said that, I felt hurt. I felt criticized. I felt unvalued. Or not, you are rude to me, but when you responded the way you did, I just felt that you weren't valuing what I had to say. You see, one is you did, and the other is I feel, okay? So learn how to use I feel statements. There's lots of examples we could look at. I don't have time right now, but our second part is use reflective listening. What does that mean? Reflective listening is we reflect back to the person what we believe we heard and what we believe they were trying to say to us. For example, you said, that you don't feel that I'm doing my part, or I heard you say that you don't feel that I'm doing my part in the housekeeping. Is that correct? Or I think you were saying that that you don't feel appreciated by what you do. Could you explain to me what you meant by that? You see, reflect back to the person, because often we just don't hear what we thought we heard, or we may not understand what we did hear. So we reflect back to the person. I heard you say that. Is this true? I think you were saying that. Could you explain that? Could you, I need to understand more. I want to understand what you're trying to share with me. Okay, things like that. So you use I feel statements, use reflected listening. And three, or the third thing, focus on changing your own attitudes. Okay? When conflict does arise, how do we deal with our attitudes? How do we deal with our feelings? Rather than, withdrawing because of our hurt feelings, or feeling offended because we didn't get our way, we need to focus on changing our own attitudes. Young couples experience wonderful feelings of love, but may not yet feel fully comfortable with each other. And so they tend to guard what they say and what they do because they're afraid of hurting the other partner. And we really need, as I said, to learn how to communicate, especially when there's conflict. See, because they realize the greater their openness is to each other, then the greater the potential for conflict. But they may not realize yet that the greater the openness, the greater the potential for also improved intimacy. And so for the first 2 years, a number of things may be left unsaid. And may the couple, each person in the couple may actually bottle up their feelings and frustrations. We can't let that happen. We have to communicate. We have to not try to stay in control or fight for control or struggle for control. We need to share our feelings. See, if you do not learn how to how to share your feelings, your frustrations in your early marriage, you may develop a lot of resentment and even anger and bitterness towards your spouse. That's why we have to get this out. If we don't learn how to share in the first couple of years, you can go through your whole life with resentment towards your spouse, and obviously that is not good. So each partner needs to learn to work on their own fears and their own attitudes and develop a safe place for each other so that they can actually share how they feel. We're going to stop there, and we're going to come back and we're going to look at 3 more tasks that are necessary if we're going to pass through this first season of romantic love in a healthy manner. See you for the next part. Bless you.